Peace and peace must be valued until they are lost. The traitor will not find place in any of the parties, because for his countrymen he is a traitor, and for his foreign master is not confident, one and the damned. After the completion of the task of their foreign masters, even true they will be living in the headgear, since their masters know, betrayed their own will betray us. Thus, a person who does not appreciate his homeland will only take dishonor out of his life to the grave. The horror and bloodshed that took place in our country in 19th was planned by ill-wishers and individuals stated from abroad, but was carried out by the hands of traitors from within the country. The USSR collapsed. This was a long-awaited occasion for traitors that they were making insidious plans in the 19th to carry out evil intentions of their foreign overlords. Sijuatov Hikmatullah, the chief clergyman in the Cathedral Mosque of Vakhsh district. Then a group formed that attributes itself to Mullah Abdullah, whose companions were Immadzoda Domullah, Qiyumiddin. These individuals are corrupt, serving their foreign patrons. This became known in the 1992 period. Their actions have caused a disaster for the common people. Karimov Rahim, former warlord of terrorist extremist organization of Islamic Revival Party. From 1981 to 1991, they collected people consisting of small groups, for example from Jilikul, from Kolkhozabad, Ghazi Malik and so on, and no one, neither they nor we, for the time being, knew what their purpose was or what they were pursuing. A country such as Tajikistan and the people like the Tajiks had to disappear in a short time, and all under the guise of Islam and the Islamic State, a model of which we all know today, and we all know how much a model of the state is concerned. Certain individuals called on the Tajiks for trouble and insurrection under the pretext of some kind of freedom for the people and a bright future. But tens of thousands fell from the hands of those who promised freedom. Great damage was inflicted on the state and the people, and moreover, the state was on the verge of extinction. How and who was behind this whole scenario? Who were the ones who poured blood in the whole nations? Today, one of the representatives of these most ill-wishers, who says that he regrets much about the offense, let him tell what happened and how. Said Qiyumiddin Ghazi, convicted. Dear people, brothers and sisters, in one word, Tajiks, in whatever language and dialect you speak, know that I have been informed about everything from the first days of the bloodshed in this country. I assure you that all the misfortunes that our people have overtaken, I assure you, I saw, I heard and examined everything. So, who is this person who saw all the horror of the 19th and was himself involved in this, but today everyone calls for peace and quit? Said Qiyumiddin Ghazi, convicted. Do not fall into the trap of people who are actually beasts, predators, and only outwardly similar to a person. Can you believe his words? Said Qiyumiddin Ghazi, known under the nicknames Eshoni Qiyumiddin, Boboi Qiyumiddin, People's General, was born on March 21st, 1952. Birthplace city of Hisar, Tajik by nationality, higher education, married, has 8 wives and 28 children, residing on the region of Khorasan, the village of Obikiik, one of the organizers and leaders of the extremist and terrorist organization Islamic Revival of Tajikistan, and an active member of the Tajik Union of Opposition Forces, glory in the main agitator of someone else's direction, Shiism, traitor and traitor to the homeland. Said Qiyumiddin Ghazi, convicted. I will not allow these secrets, whose fervor was contagious and caused people to be wicked in connection with which 1,500 people were killed. Thousands became refugees, left without parents. Children, wives and husbands remained hidden. This must be stated. They relied innocently and ignorant people into apparent decent relays. Who were the organization of these relays? Who and how deceived and attracted people to all this? Said Qiyumuddin Ghozi, convicted. The first match in these outbreaks was set on fire by the adherent of the Islamic revival. Under the covers of the name of Islam, they spread misfortune. True, the Islamic Renaissance Party of Tajikistan was involved on all these troubles. But who were the executors? Those days we remember well. People screamed and raised their hands. Who called the stupid people to destructive actions? Said Qiyumuddin Ghozi, convicted. I was personal in the Shahid Maidan. He said a lot. Of course, there were others who spoke, people now. But one of the speakers was me. I called on the people. Shout on jihad. Said Qiyumuddin Ghozi, convicted. I so entered and so attracted that there gathered over 10,000 people. Outcome, all these events which give rise to evil and troubles. Karimov Rahim, Dean of Faculty of Oriental Philology of the Islamic Institute of Tajikistan. After the formation of the Shahid Maidan and the arrival of the Foreign Minister of Iran, Vilayati, with the Islamic revival, Sayyid Qiyumuddin Ghozi, Abdullah Nuri Himmatzoda, next to the Qaziat Islamic Judiciary, where Putovsky Bazaar on the streets had nowhere to drop an apple, we greet him with wreath, garlands and flowers, shouting slogan, Saili Lillah Muhammad, welcome to Vilayati. And after we received it with honor and accompanied back, I noticed that all got a different shade. Maidan began together, started uprising against everything. Poets, ordinary people, communist, intellectual. It all began exactly the same way. What happened to the people after all this, whose network of deceits and lies they got were they killed? They left this world with many unfulfilled desires. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Ghozi, convicted. As a result of these troubles, millions of people become refugees. Thousands of people become homeless. Thousands of children become orphans. And according to Islam, to orphan even one orphan, it means to earn a heavy sin in your soul. But while we, by our own deeds, made thousands of children orphaned and thousands of women are widows, thousands of fathers who dreamed that in a very old age their children would put them in coffins, they buried their sons themselves. The poor Tajik people, as a result of all these atrocities and murders, fled to Afghanistan in millions. All of them become refugees. I was in those days in Iran. And an order came on behalf of Nuri to return to Afghanistan. The insidious plan of how to paralyze the state of Tajiks was made long ago, sitting from abroad. Now it was executed by the hand of traitors that inside that outside the state. Said Qiyumuddin Ghozi, convicted. A couple of months later, others were ripe. Nuri, Himmatzoda, Abdurrahim. Then for the first time, the meeting started under my direction there. There were even a disagreement about who should become a chief. Naturally, this group, which wanted to see the Tajik state destroyed even among themselves, was not frank and honest. Moreover, each of them wanted to get profit from the failure of Tajik people. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. Nouri becomes the leader of the Islamic Renaissance movement, and others like Davlat Ali Usman and Turajan Zoda become his first deputies. Imad Zoda headed the foreign ministry and later became deputy, thus assigning all duties among themselves. Karimov Rahim, Dean of the Faculty of Oriental Philology of the Islamic Institute of Tajikistan. All of us were led by Sayyid Abdullah Nouri. I was the commander. At the direction of Nouri, Sayyid Qiyumuddin Ghazi traveled abroad, as a rule, to Arabia, Iran, etc. collect money. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Ghazi convicted. He thus spoke in Arabic and somehow explained to them that they themselves, with tears and their race, brought and gave us money. Kholik Nazar Khodoyberdi, director of the Strategic Center under the President of Republic of Tajikistan. The task of Eshon Qiyumuddin in the Islamic revival was to agitate and propagate as well as raise money from Arab Islamic states of money, and he collected a lot of money himself and brought with his own hands.
میرفت و مبلغا رو جمع میکرد و مبلغای زیادی رو اساساً خودش جمع کرده آورده و نهضت میداد.
So, Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi and his companions, under the pretext of humanitarian assistance to refugees, took money from their foreigners, and foreign masters took unimaginable money. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. Even these funds were not spent on purpose. The money was used for the Islamic revival, the creation of the army, for the purchase of weapons. When I brought in money were $10 million. In those days, 10 millions was not considered a comic sum. Then I witnessed how the arms market began to develop. We bought military clothes, weapons. A lot of money was collected, but also instantly all this was dissolved among these associated of criminal groups. A simple and literally poor people raised their hands and held realize maintaining this wicked blinden that their criminals are making money, become forced refugees to Afghanistan without receiving a coin from their earnings. They were poor and living in terrible condition when the heads of this criminal group had their refugee in their hands. The Islamic revival was interested to ensuring that refugees did not return to their homeland, continuing to collect money from abroad ostensibly for refugees. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. Mr. Nouri, Mr. Himmat Zoda, commanders and same animal like all, used this for their own benefits. Certain individuals from the Islamic State Iran openly announced their intention to the leaders of the Islamic Renaissance Party of Tajikistan. Karimov Rahim, Dean of the Faculty of the Oriental Philology of the Islamic Institute of Tajikistan. After we returned from Afghanistan, I realized that the Islamic Revival Party has no good intention, and since then I realized that we are a toy in the hand of Iran. They created campuses, took women and men and children from Afghanistan and to Iran and trained them there. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. It is true that they taught everything and Islam and all knowledge and craft as well as other things like computers and others, but as a very intelligent and efficient young people they taught military knowledge. For a conscious and self-respecting, at least somehow human, this fame would seem like a knife in the heart, but for the Party of Islamic Revival and especially for Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi, all this was just an indication that was instantly fulfilled. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. The hour came when the world started to fun, but neither the opposition group nor especially the Islamic Revival Party wanted this peace and agreement. They wanted to see Tajikistan clearly in ruins like Afghanistan. Every time the hour of reconciliation was coming, when for example it was said that this was the 15th or certain month in Afghanistan, Iran or Moscow, negotiation will be held, the Iranian committee, which was aimed at helping the Tajiks, did everything in secret so that there are no such negotiations themselves. They did everything to ensure that the authorities had power as they themselves.
دستی قدرتمند با دستور
This was their main goal, so they did not want peace and harmony. However, peace was achieved through difficulties, but these blind people, even in the event of peace, wanted to continue their ineptness. Said Qiyamaddin Qazi convicted. In the end, we reached reconciliation. Our country, headed by our president of the blossoming Tajik country, did everything, despite all these difficulties, suffering all points, achieving this reconciliation. From 1997 to 2000, I worked in a legal subcommittee from reconciliation. They wanted to gain power, get a seat and an armchair. All of them have achieved their goal. Former leader of the Islamic Renaissance Party of Tajikistan, Sayyid Abdullah Nouri, invites Sayyid Qiyamaddin Qazi to his home. This invitation was connected with a new wave of betrayal and hidden mission against the homeland, which Iran was. The invitation from Abdullah Nouri was accepted by Sayyid Qiyamaddin Qazi, an Iranian citizen, very quickly. Sayyid Qiyamaddin Qazi convicted. There were several people there. He introduced me to one of the Iranians, and his name was Khaled Khatami, and I also introduced him to a representative of Tajik student at the University of Al-Mustafaq Olamiya, and he himself left. This Khatami introduced himself and said that he was a member of the special service of the private guard of the Islamic Republic. He invited me to cooperate with this service, thus attracted me to cooperate with these special services. Private Guard of the Islamic Revolution is a special military political service of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Guard Corps of the Islamic Revolution is a special military political services of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is created in 1979 from military Islamic revolutionary detachments and supporters of spiritual leader Ayatollah Khomeini. Orders that he was to perform was this: distribute and agitate Shiism among the Tajik people within the country and among migrants in the Russian Federation, the pan-Iranism, to attract young people to be sent to study in Islamic institution of Iran, enhance and increase the number of members of the Party of Islamic Revival of Tajikistan, strengthening of the authority of this party among the people, the implementation of anti-state and anti-political propaganda works. Said Qiyamaddin Qazi convicted. I performed the assignment of Khatami at weddings, in ceremonies, of circumcisions of boys, funerals of people, and the marriages by preaching. Salih Hukmiddin, a resident of Hisar. In 2004, together with his fellow villagers, Khojaullah, they went to Khoja Qiyamaddin to learn fiqh Hanafi. Instead, he began to propagate Shiism, offer Shiite books and talks about Hazrati Ali. Moreover, he taught us that Hazrati Ali stand on the pedestal higher his brethren and data above the Prophet Muhammad. During these 4 months, I have never seen him read namaz, but those 10-12 people who studied with us did not read themselves. For example, the day Peshin, the pre-evening Asr, the evening Shom prayers, and even Friday prayers did not read. I asked Khoja Qiyamaddin, the pricked one, that Khojaullah asked why we do not read these prayers, and the Eshon himself does not read either. I was told that Eshon Qiyamaddin reads his annual prayers in Mecca and returns. I said that I do not have the money to go to Mecca and read namaz there, so I stopped going to him. Said Qiyamaddin Qazi convicted. They demanded that I report for each of the instruction on whether I carried out the assignment or not. In fact, Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi presented a detailed report to his foreign overlords for each of his accomplishments. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. In return for conscientiously carrying out their commission, encouraging promised to teach my sons at the University of Al-Mustafa Al-Alamiya, they promised to feed and look after them better. How are their ways and means of conquering countries and destroying nations? There are special schools whose methods were well learned by the leaders of the Islamic Renaissance Party of Tajikistan, and they implemented in Tajikistan. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. Everyone who was considered himself the master has four ways of influence and conquest. First, through culture. Second, education. Third, the economic way. Fourth, the military, and by creating armies. To my lot fell through cultural and scientific and educational agitation. Muhammad Abdurrahman, Deputy President of the Academy of Science of the Republic of Tajikistan. They received money for their failed agitation. With it money, they are in Tajikistan and they built houses and created business. But their other main task in the country was the spread of Shiism. They received a lot of money, bought weapons. It's just that no one gives money to anyone, especially in Iran. And when they returned to Tajikistan in different ways, they found their like-minded people and continued to sow evil. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. Khatami invited me, listen to me, Eshon, they want to create the rite of Ashura, Shi'i tradition. It is necessary to participate in it and have the speech. Mavlonov Abdurrahman, head of the Department for Analysis and Diagnostic of Religious Studies of the Committee of Religious Ordering of National Tradition and Ceremonies under the government of the Republic of Tajikistan. The rite of Ashura consists only of fasting and worship of God and has nothing to do with the murder of Hazrat Hussain or the fact that he became a martyr. That is no martyring. The very beating by chain is not part of this rite. Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. I said that I will not go, and did not go completely. After a while he invited me again and said very severely and with anger, if you are not going to do it, then write an article about this and put it on the site. There's big audience. Please, he ordered to do it. Mavlonov Abdurrahman, head of the Department for Analysis and Diagnostic of Religious Studies of the Committee on Religions, Ordering of National Tradition and Ceremonies under the government of the Republic of Tajikistan. On the part of the staff of the Committee of Religious Affairs, the regulation of national tradition and ceremonies under the government of the Republic of Tajikistan, the article of citizen Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi under the heading the epistle of Boboy Eshon dedicated to the Ashura rite, and another article, Thought, Reflection and Recollection of the Renaissance. Thoughts, Reflection and Recollection of the Renaissance. Interview with the Qiyumuddin Qazi, which were published on the page of the internet and social network, as a result of which they were studied by the staff of the Department of Religious Studies. Virtually all articles contained material that incited a strife of characters, calling for the implementation of extremist activities. We have clear examples of how the people were called to revolution in the text, to a statement of their disagreement with the constitutional order of the Republic. In 2006, former head of the terrorist extremist organization Islamic Revival Party of Tajikistan, feasibility study of the IRPT, Said Abdullah Nuri, will once again gather people from his traitors and foreign customers in his house. This meeting was to discuss the creation and design of the IRPT feasibility study for the next 10 years. What was on that day in the house of Said Abdullah Nuri? Which sites were studied and discussed? To whom were the instructions given? In particular, what kind of mission was given to Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi? Sayyid Qiyumuddin Qazi convicted. When I arrived, Said Abdullah Nouri told me that I was late and that their meeting was over and that they had already drawn a 10-year sustainable plan in which the Islamic Republic of Iran promised us a lot, and that in order to implement all these plans by the end of the year, the ruling party must be the Islamic Renaissance Party of Tajikistan. And he said that we should work on everything, economic, educational and other areas, and pointed to each person and indicated who and what should be done. And you having such eloquence should engage in agitation. That is all the instruction given by the late Said Abdullah Nouri 9 years later in September 2015 from Mr. Nazarzoda, that is Hoji Halim, and all this whom he had pointed out to everyone were fully executed. The result of that meeting surfaced after 9 years. After the 10 years plan for feasibility study of the IRPT led by Abdul Halim Nazarzoda, known as Hoji Halim, and the customer from the Islamic Republic of Iran, fell, Said Qiyamudin Qazi fled to the Russian Federation to continue work on agitation of Shiism among Tajik migrants and also to increase the number of adherents of the party. Said Qiyamudin Qazi convicted. The participants of the Islamic revival and their customers, that is, the Iranians, demanded and asked me to continue my duties without delay, to eradicate that Iranian-hearted that is inherent in migrant in the Russian Federation and agitate the love of Shiism. This was the order to me. Ismatloev Qiyamudin, a resident of Khorasan. He brought down young people, the resident from Khorasan, who migrated especially to Russia from their true bondage. They read namaz 3 times after they return. At the same time, read 8 rakats namaz and held fasting for 3 days. Said Qiyamudin Qazi convicted. At the end of 2015, I was ordered to present General Hoji Halim Nazarzoda as a martyr and as a hero. Said Qiyamudin Qazi, who at the beginning received instruction from his Iranian overlord, was now fully prepared to create inside and outside of the state a feasibility study of the IRPT and to assemble the team. One of the companions of his school of treachery is Mirzo Sharif Ashurov, who carried out his assignment. Ashurov Mirzo Sharif, student of Said Qiyamudin Qazi. I was commissioned by Said Qiyamudin Qazi to make speeches among the people in various ceremonies. And when Eshon demanded a report from us, we told where and how people were called. And today we learned that their goal was to prepare people in various ways and call them to Shiism and other matters. Today, Muhyiddin Kabiri continues his traitorous way abroad, trying to justify the IRPT feasibility study. In fact, all their deaths and even the disruption of their plans, all this is a direct proof of the wicked thought and desires of these blind men and traitors of their homeland who have lost even the smallest part of their supporters. Said Qiyamudin Qazi convicted. The IRP turned into such a party about which the people know that it is deceitful, calling for wrong action, uncultured party that brings only harm. Despite the fact that regarding the feasibility of the IRPT and attempted coup in September 2015 by TO IRPT, there are many facts. The former head of the IRPT and now the criminal Muhyiddin Kabiri is trying to prove to be a sweet earth bird locked in a cage. But their true essence and face are known to all of us. As one small example from the ocean of evidence, you can offer these frames for close viewing. Said Qiyamedin Qazi convicted. Kabiri in 2006, according to the plans which we mentioned above, celebrating and rejoicing, became chairman. It was from 2006. The plan that was drawn up began to be implemented by them with the hope that they will achieve the highest post in the parliament of Tajikistan in 2015.
نقشه را به عمل آوردن شروع کرد با امید اینکه
They tried all their effort, they also took money, even witnesses, as he goes from one district to another with his agitation program. But fortunately, they did not win in the parliamentary election. After that, he started with Hoji Halim, having previously received money from abroad, enlarged his purse, placed him, joined his group of deceived Taliban from his party too, added people to his group, and also from former commanders too, multiplied the number of participants in his group, created a powerful force, and he fled and ordered a coup d'etat. But his plan in the parliament also broke, and this also broke. These events are not secret. People should know about them. I am one of those who knows about these events personally. I know that all this was planned and implemented. Hear from me that they did exactly that. Kabiri, I know all the things. To lie in vain is tantamount to breaking your own neck with your own hand.
کبیری این چیزها را من میدونم لافی بیهوده زدن گردن شکستن
Despite the fact that in this path, with shed with blood and lust for more than 40 years, the PTE IRPT is not satisfied with the help of the Islamic Republic of Iran, they want to revive the IRPT. Said Qiyamedin Qazi, convicted. In the Republic of Tajikistan, the people have already tried all the bitterness of this idea. There was not a single house in which there was not even a one martyr. There was not a single house in which there was not even one martyr. But despite this, they want to revive this party, which is proclaimed as a terrorist. Revival of this party means to revive enemies on the soul of the nation. Karim Ibrahim, Dean of the Faculty of Oriental Philology of the Islamic Institute of Tajikistan. One day I even heard, when I was on the Commission for the Reconciliation of the Nation, as Iranian was told about IRPT, that this was the party of the Hezbollah party of Iran. The leader of Iran considered the IRP to be the patriotic party of their Hezbollah. Said Qiyamedin Qazi, convicted. I know that once again the Islamic Republic of Iran wants to revive this party by all truths and groups, and how it will revive. Again, there will come troubles and new problems will come from one side of the city to others. Its age will be difficult to reach from one end of the country to the other. Peace will be lost. Said Qiyamedin Qazi was offered to become the head of the IRPT in the Russian Federation among Tajik migrants. Said Qiyamedin Qazi, convicted. I was instructed even more. They pointed out and said that I should lead all the supporters of the IRPT in Russia. You must do this as a one spiritual leader. Said Qiyamedin Qazi, having reviewed new instruction from his masters, returns back to Tajikistan. On his return, he is detained at an airport with a particularly large amount with which he had to carry out his insidious plan to revive the IRPT feasibility study, thus depriving the people of peace. Said Qiyamedin Qazi, convicted in addition. I was instructed to carry out an operation until 2020, disrupt the course of the election in 2020. Blind foreigners figures wants to take away that calmness and accomplishment which has been achieved over 30 years by incredible effort and hard work. Said Qiyamedin Qazi, convicted. Dear people, I beg you pardon. I ask to forgive me as a representative of this party of revival. In the 92s, there were terrible events in our country. More than 150,000 people were killed, or about that, shed blood. Many migrated to neighboring countries. To this day, some mothers still shed tears in the hope that when their child returns home. I beg you, do not support the IRP feasibility study. I beg you, do not support the IRP feasibility study. Do not go the wrong way. I understood my mistake, asked God for forgiveness. I pray that these insidious plans are not fulfilled, and you will forgive me. Accept my forgivenesses, and after acceptance, do not go after them. Do not join the IRP feasibility study. Do not help them.
در خطا ما خوردیم خاطئانه میگم که عضو این گروه نشوید، عضو این نهضت نشوید، کمک نکنید، یاری ندهید.
Today, Said Qiyamuddin Qazi, as if beating his elbows and regrets about what he did, condemns his foreigners and domestic overlords and curses them. Through only one, the result of betrayal is dishonor which will never be forgotten. About something to talk with a traitor is useless. For the man who has put the most precious, the most valuable and most sacred concept at the motherland on a par with handouts, foreigners removed from the human registry, and all about him erased such a things as a human being as a whole and rushed into the bottom of unconsciousness which consists of only one darkness. It is because of the action of such personalities that well-equipped countries are drawing in blood and troubles. A clear example of these statements today, state of Syria, which we all know is that from one successful country has turned into ruins. It is time that would be you and I remember that our country under the assumed scenario traitors and foreigners enemies already turned into this very ruin.